Hello guys, and welcome to the next chapter where I will be taking this drawing of a building that will ultimately become a bar. And in the first video I will be doing the blocking stage, well, literally the same thing that I did in the blocking and blocking plus. But also in the next video we will continue and detail it up and add all the all the details that go into a building. So as you know, in the previous chapter I stole a lot of geometry from the first building that I already built because I wanted these two buildings to feel similar, like maybe they are from the same owner or something like that. I was just trying to make a story in my head of how these things are related to each other. So I just took some parts and then decided to change some of them. So yeah, a lot of the concepting for this building will be in 3D. I am using the 2D as the look and feel of the building, but like the shapes that make up the building will slightly vary from the 2D, because as I'm working I'm discovering better ideas. And as I mentioned in the previous chapters, if you decide that and realize that your ideas are not working, there's no point keeping them. So as you can see, I am doing a lot of bevels and I'm leaving triangles in the corners. That's a design choice that I wanted to have because I did a test, and like these are going to be reflective materials. So I did a test before starting this, and I noticed that I get really nice highlights. So I decided as a design choice to leave the little triangles in the corners. It just makes it look a bit more believable. But that is not to say that I will leave the triangles be triangles till the end. I'm still making the geometry subdivisible, which means that if this turns into a production ready mesh for something in the future, I can pretty much just run the smooth command and it will add more geometry. That's the same reason why I keep my geometry very, very low and don't add a lot of edges in between, just to have a room leverage, so to speak, to add the smooth modifier on top for all of your Max users out there. So because I was looking at references when I was modeling this, I discovered some new ideas. I decided to change this front section a little bit. So I was gonna use the window to make a door out of it, as you saw, but then I kind of changed my mind because it was becoming too repetitive. So everything was looking exactly the same, which in theory is a good thing, but not when you overdo it. So just something to keep in mind, that your stuff could end up looking boring if you just start duplicating stuff. So, and also going back to that analogy that if I invest too much time, I will become emotionally invested in my geometry. I keep everything loose and I don't even clean up the geometry at this point, because I was like certain at some point that I will change stuff. In terms of, as you can see, I am keeping the technology very, very simple. I use a handful of tools that have been around forever in Maya. So move tool is like the main like the manipulating tools, not just the move tool, but like move, rotate, and scale are the main three tools that I use to manipulate geometry. And then the extrude is my to-go tool for making any kind of shape that is a little bit more complex, and extracting faces to save me just a couple of seconds of creating a new primitive and bringing it to the working place. Also, bevel and bridge are very commonly used tools as well, and split and insert edges, and that's pretty much it. I will point out if I'm using anything specific or complex as we go through the videos, but you really don't need too much, to be honest, to make complex stuff. You can pretty much model anything just by using these simple tools, and that is also why I really get annoyed by people saying, oh, this program is better than this one, or you can model this one in Modo or Max or whatever, but you can't do it in Maya. And that's totally not true. Like, if you know how to model, you know how to model, period. You can model in any program. Some program may have a bit more additions to the tools that are used for modeling that can speed things up, but that is not the case. And I mean, it used to be that a lot of the programs had their own ways of doing stuff, but as the industry progresses, you find program, like especially for modeling, things are becoming really similar in all the applications out there. So that is not an excuse that if I worked Max, I could have done this, or if I used Modo, I could have done this, or I could. It's it's just not how it is. So I just want to encourage people to attempt to do pretty much whatever they want, because it's not about the tool, it's about putting the time and figuring out how to do it and doing it ultimately. So as you can see, because I was stealing geometry from another buildings, I had a couple of edge loops in the geometry, which I didn't want for the new purpose of that geometry. So I used a right-click navigation. So going back to ZBrush, not right-click navigation, but rather right-click marking menus to work faster and select edges and delete and do this kind of stuff. And it's something that I'm trying to tell people that is very powerful in Maya. Like, it's funny enough, back in the day when Maya was developing, this was one of the key selling features of Maya, like marking menus and hotbox and this kind of stuff, because at first it doesn't look like much, but if you start using it, it can save hours of work in the long run. So something as simple as going to the edit mesh menu and picking a tool, it will save you a second or two just by right clicking and choosing the same tool. It's convenient, it's fast, and after you do it a couple of times, you stop even thinking about how to reach the tool, because it becomes like a painting. Like when you're in ZBrush and you're sculpting, you like doing strokes, you like flicks with your wrist, and you do a specific stroke. It's very similar for me when I'm modeling, using the marking menus, because I know that if I go shift right click and up, I get a specific tool, or shift click right down, I get another, like merge or something. So after using this kind of method for a while, you just go, I need to merge something, shift, my hand is already on Alt and Control and Shift, so I just click Shift and just swipe my wrist to the left, and the merge is done, for example. So it becomes very fluent. It's very rewarding feeling when you can just fly through it's very easy to get into the flow zone, so-called. Which some people struggle with, like they cannot get into the flow for a long time after they start modeling. And this is one of the ways that I use to go into the quote-unquote flow zone, because it just you feel like an artist and not like a technician moving vertices around. So if you're that kind of person, this is something that it's gonna benefit you a lot. So in the next chapter, we're gonna go over the detailing stage, which is gonna be slightly longer, just because there's a lot of content in it. So this was the end of the blocking plus, where everything is done, everything is pretty much figured out, but now it's time to add the cables and the screws and figure out how doors will open and just very detailed stuff. So I hope to see you guys in the next video, and take care.